All right. Real quick follow-up from day 2 of the Conquer CIS topics with the Raspberry Pi. So first off, this afternoon's session, even though I know I clicked on the record button, I cannot find the recording anywhere. It wasn't rendered as part of the rendering today. So I've got this morning's, and it's been posted on YouTube. And this afternoon, I can't find. It's not where it's supposed to be. So, which I know I didn't do it on purpose, knowing, hindsight, I know we ended the day not having anything successfully completed. However, I do want to, I want to kind of take a look at this processes thing one last time. So earlier today we were trying to work on the processes lab, and we ran into some issues, right, with the way the data was formatted, right? And Gary was working with us to try to figure that out. And Gary did come up with what appears to be the solution, right? So, and I remember seeing this decode issue pop on one of the pages. I just wasn't sure what to do with it and how to do it. But Gary came up with it. So on line 40, we basically need to add this little dot decode parenthesis after the R strip parenthesis. So, and by doing that, that formats the information the way the system wants to see it. So I went out and did that. So I want to show you what that looks like. So we're going to go out to the file itself, and so 2 issues came up today. One of them was, or on this evening, I did have to recopy my access key because I had tested this and it never popped onto initial state, and then once I reset my access key, then it worked. So, and I did a right mouse click copy from initial state, and then I used the menu paste on the command line to get that to populate exactly as it is. So maybe I think I may have typed in something wrong somewhere along the way, not sure, but that's what it seems like. And then further down here, so I'm down here, right here, right, where it's streamer log process name, and then output R strip, and then I've added the dot decode parenthesis, right? So it's basically the errors that we were getting were a data formatting error, and that decode puts it into the right format. And that's it. The only 2 things I changed on the entire script were those 2 items. I reposted my my key, and then I added this decode. All right, so I'm going to control O, write it out, and control X. And then to run this process, so we first of all, I went back and double checked, right, using this ps-ef command to make sure right here that my PID, or process identifier number, did not change, and it didn't. So then to run this program, right, Python monitor underscore process.py, and then I put a space and the process ID. Okay. So when we run this, we should start to see this piece increment. I'll do a refresh a couple times, but this should increment. Oh, I did make one other change. Let me go back and show you what I did also. So at the very, very bottom of this loop here, right, this while true loop, there's a sleep function, and it starts right here where I have a 1. It's 60 minutes between reads. And I'm like, no, we can't do that. So I went to 1 minute so I could see the data moving on it for us to make sure that it was going to work properly. So I did make that change. So I made that change right there. I changed the 60 to a 1. Over here on line, I believe Gary determined that it was line 40, I believe. This line here at the very end where we have the R strip. There's normally R strip and a close parenthesis, we put .decode, open, close, and then we just move that other close out. So that's that piece there. And then I know on my particular piece, I did change my key code, my access token, or my access key to match this. And then I did, I keep saying I only did this, I did this too, right? So I changed the bucket key. So I changed the bucket key, changed my access key. And the bucket key, I just made it to match, process 10.733. Somebody had kind of mentioned maybe that's kind of what they were doing earlier. So I went ahead and made that change. Okay, those are the changes that were made. Control O, enter, Control X, and then now I'm going to run that process. And what we see here is that it's now running and I'm not getting any errors. Right? So over here, what I'm hoping for to see is, I want to see this increment. So if I rerun this, you can see now I'm at 73. So I've gotten 3 events that have been pushed out. And then if I open up my shelf here, I see processes. And on my processes screen, I see that my AdGuard home is running and that my IP address is available. Right? So that's pretty cool. So that piece is done, right? So we got to that point. We can make those changes to the activity. Now, here we go. There are other parts to this that we haven't gotten to. So launch a monitored process. So then there's a script that we're going to set up and run. So we're going to run this process and change this over to the AdGuard, right? And then we'll do the launch, and it'll launch at the beginning. And then we'll monitor through a reboot. So there's some other things that we can add. So I think it's a valid project if we just make sure we work through the changes to the material. So for this, we probably want to put a little addendum, right, or a little change log this here. Make these changes to the code as part of the project. So from now, I'm not going to do any more on this project, but I want you to know that Gary did find a solution. We were able to implement that solution, and then we did try to run the system monitoring, and I'm wondering if that's an issue between being a Buster distribution and a Bullseye distribution. So I am working on. I've already burned an SD card for the Buster version. That's the legacy version of the OS, and I'm going to go ahead and run that process this evening to see if it functions. And if it functions, I'll let you know on that, if that lab works using the legacy software versus the current version of the software. So I hope that helps. I apologize for having a cruddy end to the day and just not getting anything to function properly. But I wanted you to know that Gary did find a fix. I applied the fix. I got it functioning here. So I think it's something that we could document and then move forward with that particular project. All right? Cool. Thanks.